Dave, this is Sergeant Michael Gates from the Cranston Police Criminal Investigation Unit. Can you give me a call back, please, on my cell phone within the next half hour? My night is coming to an end, and I need to speak to you.
Bad boys, what you gonna do? What you gonna do when they come for you? Bad boys, what you gonna do? What you gonna do when they come for you?
Fisher, how are you? This is Captain Sean Conley from the Cranston Police Department. I know you received a call last night from Sergeant Gates. He is off today. Just so I can verify a conversation that you had with Mayor Fung last night.
Bad Fung, what you gonna do, Bad Fung? Oh, no! Yes, we are the Coalition, loud and proud, outrage porn-free, civilly disobedient radio. No lions were harmed in the production of this radio show. We are on the web at facebook.com/Coalition Radio. On the mighty Twitter, Coalition_radio. We blog, we podcast. Check out David Brissatt's latest, Mission Impossible, in our eye. Bella Robinson continues to contribute provocative content regarding the status of professional sex workers here in Rhode Island. Ethan Giles, ethics. Arriving soon, the folks from Progressive Charlestown are going to give us sort of the skinny on what's going on down in South County, as we like to call it, as the stomach turns, right? And my co-host is with me, Dave Fisher. Dave, how are you? Another adventurous week on the worldwide world of Coalition Radio.
It has been, well, a little less intimidating this week, let's say.
No threats of immediate arrest?
No arrest warrants have been issued. I've had no strange knocks at the doors or late-night phone calls from members of any law enforcement organization this week. So I suppose that makes this week better than last week.
Right. We did see what appears to me, and we blogged about this, the apparent demise of the Nobody's and No One's Listening tour here in Rhode Island. The fine folks from SCEFCO, the Skefinistas, seem to have drawn back. Oddly enough, they seem to want to avoid northern Rhode Island. Not sure why, but I'd like to think we'd had a little bit to do that. And of course, the fine folks at Organizing Pawtucket, our friend David Norton, continues to beat the drum loudly. What's your take on that? Is that going to happen soon?
Well, I think it's just a matter of time before the postponed public meetings become canceled public meetings. We have this. The SCEFCO field trip to Durham coming up with, I guess they got about 20 people to sign on, and of course they won't release the names of the 20 people that have signed on for this trip.
I'd love to greet them at the airport if we could.
Well, I was a little miffed that, if they're trying to convince the opposition that this is a good idea, where was our invite?
And I was looking forward to serious minibar action down in Durham. That's all I gotta say.
And Durham's a great city. I was there just last year, and it was a fine time.
And none of its greatness has literally anything to do with baseball.
No,
we can all agree on that. And we're baseball fans. The notes in the paper this week that somehow the parking garage is no longer part of the plan. So that to me is telling for two reasons. Number one, the parking issue is going to loom large. Number two, that means there's negotiations in the works that Governor Ray Mundy doesn't want to talk to us about it because what does she need us for? The city of Providence doesn't seem to be, or maybe they are involved in, but why have any sort of public disclosure about that? So the beat goes on with that, and it would appear that probably the knowledge dump on that will occur. I don't know. Maybe we ought to have like a pool, coalitionradio.us. Maybe we should put up a pool as to when,
a doomsday countdown.
Right. What day they're going to announce the real deal or the latest insult to the taxpayers of Rhode Island. It goes nowhere. They keep talking about, how they've got other options, but again, the folks from the the Worcester equivalent of the Commerce Commission, the Chamber of Commerce, put the smackdown on that, saying, they've been burned, 18 years ago or 17 years ago when the Paw Sox were last discussing moving, and they weren't about to be, as the saying goes, they won't be fooled again. New Bedford, the Riv, all those folks seem to have backed down. So there really is no place to go, is there?
And frankly, there's no other metropolitan area close enough to Boston. We've talked about this where major league teams want to have the entire pipeline of their team from single A, double A, triple A to the majors, within a couple of 100 miles.
Right. My guess is they end up on the Cape or they end up at some form of Gillette Stadium. At sort of a sub-stadium or a smaller facility there. That's where they end up.
I wonder what Kraft gets for rent on Gillette Stadium.
More than they want to pay. And with the Olympics going down in flames, and we've got a a great show lined up, folks. Joining us in just a moment is Paul Archetto, representative for Council Ward 3 in Cranston, to talk about what's going on on Planet Fung. And we're going to spend about 40 minutes talking about that. Coming up after the break to join in on the conversation is one of our heroes of civil disobedience, Stephen Brown from the ACLU. But if there was an illustrative lesson and really blowing up what has been a quietly developing trend, of course, would be this week with the demise, if you will, of the Olympics in Boston, the unlamented Olympics in Boston. And the point I want to make about that, and we had Chris from No Olympics Boston on a few months ago, and we hope to get him on in the coming weeks. There is clearly a trend, particularly in this part of the country, of the citizenry successfully defeating these crony corporatist moves at building facilities at taxpayer expense and or at the expense of a community. You know, we saw it with the folks in Tiverton who were able to beat back that development because they simply didn't want it. We've seen it now in Newport where Joey Pellino took another shot to the chin. He's on a streak for about 15 years now. It isn't a good one. Where the No Casino Newport folks successfully won there. Of course, the Olympic battle was epic. And folks, you know, we always talk about, I'm the libertarian here. So, again, I believe in self-determination, individualism, rugged American exceptionalism, but also the power of the individual to set their own course. And, of course, implicit in that is the power of a community. So for all the folks who are throwing out the NIMBY terms, even the mayor of Boston, in what should have been a triumphant moment, had to take a shot at, with his own version of Chafee-esque negative nabobs of negativity, with referring to 10 followers on Twitter, controlling the conversation. A community future should be charted by the folks who live and have invested, in some cases, generations in that community. When people say, not in my backyard, well, who the hell's backyard is it?
Right. And
who has ownership of that community, whether it be Cranston, whether it be Newport with the casino, whether it be Tiverton with this, mega mall, as someone pointed out, it's just in time for Rhode Island to build malls when the internet is taking over retail. Who's in charge?
Maybe they can use the roof of the new mall for like Amazon drone landing pads.
I don't know, but again, the whole notion of NIMBY I find insulting. The whole notion of being condescending or arrogant to an individual group of citizens, and whether they be the folks in Tiverton, whether it be the No Olympic folks, whether it be our own friend David Norton and Ms. Steele,
the folks that are fighting against the gas plant in Burrillville.
Right, exactly. This is their community. They deserve not only the seat at the table, they deserve the head of the table. All right? You have folks, because who represents the real future? After all these projects have come and gone, they've after the Skefanistas have ruined one of the few things that was good and pure in Rhode Island, clearly was the Pawtucket Red Sox. Now that the Skefanistas have ruined that, all right, they've soiled it and turned it into
sullied, as it were,
into the tawdry, stinking mess that it's become. It's never going to be the same for a lot of people. So after let's just say they get their stadium, God forbid, and after they flip it in 5 years like a cheap tenement on Cumberland Hill Road, what happens then? Who's left? The community. What happened down in New London when they decided to invoke all sorts of executive privilege on the town to abscond with private properties for a public development? What happened? Never got built, and a community was destroyed. So, I applaud the people in Boston. I continue to applaud the people in Providence and in Pawtucket and in across the state who are putting in real sweat equity into fighting these things, and anybody anywhere who's decided on their own to become civically active in their community and to put in the kind of sweat equity that our next guest has. And again, I want to introduce Paul Archetto, the representative from Council Ward 3 from the great city of Cranston, Rhode Island. Welcome to the coalition.
Well, thank you very much, Pat, and great to be here. Nice to meet you, Dave, and looking forward to an interesting evening. Just for the record, when I served as the state rep from Cranston many years ago, I voted against the Providence Place Mall. I felt that two malls were not going to sustain. We're not going to sustain survival in the state of Rhode Island.
Right, and what did we see from the mall, by the way? Now that one of the anchor stores has gone, and you can pull it a fact check me on this. From what I understand, JCPenney has not been replaced yet. So we've got the mall standing next to the convention center, standing next to the Dunk, and a few miles up the road from the Ryan Center, which is going to be right near the stadium. Damn, if we ever have a civic emergency, we sure have enough places for people to chill, don't we? Again, congratulations for that kind of foresight. Clearly, as we've evoked in our blog pages and on the show in the last few weeks, Cranston is in the middle of really.
I think political crisis is putting it mild.
Crisis of leadership.
Yeah.
Right. What was it? Verklempt? Is that the term? They got agita. There's agita in Cranston right now. I'm going to ask a question right up front, and then we're going to build up to the case. So in a sense, this is like one of those movies where you see the ending, and then you realize it coming about.
Ooh, Pulp Fiction style.
Pulp Fiction style, right. Councilman Archetto, should the mayor of Cranston resign?
That's an excellent question. You put me on the spot here. I don't want to shoot from the hip, Mr. Ford, Pat.
P.O. taxpayer.
I think, in all fairness, we need the full report. Mm-hmm. We need to get that full report out to the council, out to the people of Cranston and the state of Rhode Island. It was state money, taxpayer money, that paid for the state police investigation. And once that report's out, I think the 9 members of that city council go to an analytical analysis, and if there's something there, if there's grounds of malfeasance or even unethical behavior, improprieties, at that point, I think the council needs to act.
Okay. So let's start from the beginning here. First of all, you're the rep from Council Ward 3. Tell us a little bit about your ward, because your ward became embroiled in this because of the ticket gate. So just give us a little snapshot of your neighborhood.
It's a blue-collar area. It's in the northern section of Cranston. A suburb. We have claim to fame. There's the Cranston Stadium, where many Mike Stenhouse played baseball there, played for the Boston Red Sox, other individuals. So there's a lot of athletic games going on. But it's a blue collar district, middle income to low income area.
So when it comes to things like police contracts, when it comes to city taxes, your folks are your compadres are square in the sights.
I'm scrutinized.
Yeah. I mean, these are folks who, are really the heart of Cranston, but at the same time, the folks who are really being asked to shoulder a lot of the burden.
Exactly, sure.
All right, so then let's go back in time to a time when Alan Fung actually spent some quality time on the city council as well.
City at large, I believe. He represented the whole city, yes.
Okay. Did you have experience, because you've also served in the state legislature.
Correct.
Did you have any experience with him then, what his attitudes were, or was he just kind of a quiet
I served
backbencher?
6 years in the General Assembly of 91 to 96. I served 4 years on the Cranston School Committee, and that's where I had a relationship with Councilman Fung. Very in a general way, nothing, basic legislation. He would call if he needed something that he thought was important on the school committee. So that's my relationship with him.
Okay. Now, and by note of explanation and full disclosure, I was an avid supporter of Ken Block when he ran for governor. I felt like he was the right individual for the right time. A lot of that's been proven out post-election as, despite losing back-to-back elections, Mr. Block continues to engage in a great deal of a large civic contribution both to different communities in the state and to the state at large. So in the run-up to the election, into the primary, I'm a frequent caller to talk radio. I'm on talk radio. One of my contentions all along, when he shifted to mayor, was the state police has taken over day-to-day operations of a city police department. That's never a good thing. So how did Cranston really get there? I mean, it would appear that, and if I'm wrong, correct me, that Mayor Fung has taken contributions from a variety of city policemen, as well as had the support of the city police union. So in the run-up to Ticketgate, you had a city contract, and you were on the city council at the time of the negotiation of that contract.
Yes.
Tell us about the contract.
Well, for my analysis, and let me give you a history of that, you have a mayor running for governor, and the mayor would want to cement different unions across the state. And the police contract, I felt, was overly generous, especially to the higher level officers of the police department. They were getting the bulk of the raises. So it was a